Imagine you're sitting at, well, a beautifully set dinner table. The lighting is low.
Oh, setting the mood.
Exactly. Very atmospheric. The wine glasses are sparkling, and your friend's mother, who has generously invited you into her home, just served you a dish.
Right.
A dish she spent, I don't know, like the last 4 hours carefully preparing. So you look down at it.
Building the tension here.
You take your fork, you take a bite, and it tastes absolutely terrible.
Oh, no. The worst nightmare.
Right. It's a complete catastrophe in your mouth. You look up, and she is staring right at you.
Just waiting for it.
Smiling, just
Right.
waiting for your verdict. Your brain completely panics. You have exactly 3 seconds to respond.
If that.
Yeah, maybe 2.
Yeah.
And the English words you choose in this precise moment will either save your relationship with this family or they will ruin the entire evening.
And you're probably never getting invited back.
Exactly. It is the ultimate high-wire act of social survival.
It really is.
Yeah.
And, it happens every single day to people.
Every single day. And the terrifying thing is, if you're learning English or even if you're a native speaker who just isn't paying attention, your default setting in a moment of panic is to revert to what we call the robot diary.
Ah, yes. The robot diary. It's essentially the absolute bare bones mechanics of language.
Yeah, completely soulless.
Right. You strip away all the nuance, all the humanity, and you just deliver raw data.
Like, I consumed the food was adequately prepared, I am no longer hungry.
It's incredibly efficient, sure. It gets the point across.
But it tells you absolutely nothing about what it actually felt like to be alive and experiencing that meal.
Nothing at all.
Which is why we're here. So welcome to this deep dive, where our entire mission today is to basically rescue you from the robot diary.
A very knowable mission.
We think so.
Well,
We are taking the universal language of food, something every single human on Earth understands, and we're going to use it as the ultimate vehicle to help you speak natural, vivid, everyday English.
because if you want to master English, mastering how to talk about food is arguably the most crucial step.
100%. We want to help you navigate that terrifying dinner table scenario, sound less like a textbook, and sound much more like, a culturally fluent human being.
And just to clarify, we don't mean the transactional language here.
Right, like ordering at a restaurant.
Exactly. We aren't talking about how to order a coffee or ask for the bill. We're talking about learning to express the incredibly rich, sensory, and deeply emotional experiences of eating.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because what's on our plates carries so much more weight than just calories or macronutrients.
Oh, absolutely.
Food is an experience. It's a memory. It's a time machine. And if your entire vocabulary for that profound human experience is limited to, I ate food and it was good, you're missing out.
You're missing a huge opportunity to actually connect with the person sitting across from you.
Exactly. So we're going to break this down for you today. We're going to explore the underlying emotional and biological connection we have to comfort food.
Which is fascinating science, by the way.
It really is. Then we're going to build a high-level vocabulary toolkit for taste and smell. And finally, we're going to completely transform those clunky, direct, textbook sentences into the smooth, natural, diplomatic phrasing that native speakers use intuitively.
And that diplomacy is key because, as you pointed out with your dinner table scenario, language isn't just about accuracy, it's about emotional intelligence.
Right, you have to read the room.
To truly connect, you had to be able to share your world without accidentally insulting someone else's. And food is just this beautiful, perilous gateway into someone else's world.
So let's start right there at the gateway, the emotional connection. We talk a lot about comfort food, but we rarely stop to think about what that actually means.
It's a phrase we throw around constantly.
Yeah, but it's never really about culinary perfection, is it? When people describe their ultimate comfort food, they are almost never describing some Michelin star meal with tweezers and dry ice.
No, almost never. They are fundamentally linking food to memory, to family, and to this underlying sense of absolute safety.
Safety, yes. That's the core of it.
It's all about emotional resonance. Take macaroni and cheese, for instance.
Oh, a total classic.
Right, it's a staple in many Western countries.
Yeah.
Objectively speaking, it is literally just boiled carbohydrates covered in melted dairy fat.
Which sounds terrible when you say it like that.
It does. But when a native speaker talks about mac and cheese, they are not describing the ingredients. They are describing a state of being.
Yes, exactly. When you hear someone talk about baking a tray of mac and cheese, they always focus on the sensory details that trigger a feeling.
The specifics matter.
They'll describe that golden, crispy layer of cheese that gets baked right onto the top. They'll talk about the contrast between the slight crunch of the crust and the soft, molten center.
Just hearing you describe it makes me hungry.
Right. But more than anything, they talk about the aroma.
The aroma is the critical trigger here. The smell of baking cheese and butter doesn't just sit in the kitchen. It aggressively colonizes the entire house.
It really does. It pulls people out of their bedroom.
As a homing beacon.
It is a homing beacon. You can have a house full of teenagers who haven't spoken to each other in 3 days, all locked in their separate rooms, ignoring everyone.
A very common scenario.
Very common. But the second that aroma hits the hallway, suddenly everyone has magically wandered into the kitchen.
Oh, totally.
They pretend they just needed a glass of water, or they were looking for a pen, but really they were summoned by the cheese.
They are responding to a deeply ingrained biological cue.
Yeah.
And the neurology behind this is genuinely fascinating.
Break that down for me, because if I see an old photograph, I remember things, sure. But if I smell something from my childhood, I literally feel like I am 7 years old again.
It's a very visceral reaction.
It's a physical reaction. Why is smell so much more powerful than sight or sound?
What's fascinating here is that it's all about neural pathways. When you experience most senses like sight, touch, or hearing, that sensory data travels to a part of your brain called the thalamus.
The thalamus, okay.
Right? The thalamus acts like a switchboard operator. It receives the data, analyzes it, packages it, and then sends it off to the relevant parts of the brain for you to consciously process.
So it's a highly logical, filtered system.
Exactly. It's a security checkpoint.
Okay, so sight and sound have to wait in line at security.
Spot on. But smell, olfactory input, is the only human sense that completely bypasses the thalamus.
Wait, really? It skips security entirely?
It skips it entirely. It does not go through the checkpoint. When you smell that baking mac and cheese or the specific steam coming off a bowl of soup, the olfactory bulb routes that signal directly without any filtering straight to the amygdala and the hippocampus.
And those are the emotion and memory centers, right?
Yes, exactly. The amygdala processes emotion, and the hippocampus handles episodic memory. Because the smell bypasses logic entirely, it triggers a profound, full-body emotional and physical response before your conscious brain even has time to identify what the smell is.
That makes so much sense.
You feel the safety, the warmth, the nostalgia, fractions of a second before you think, that's cheddar cheese. It's a biological override.
That is incredible, and it perfectly explains another classic comfort food scenario we found in the source material, which is homemade soup.
Oh, the universal comfort food.
Think about a grandmother's simple chicken soup or lentil soup, depending on where you're from. It's almost never a complicated recipe.
No, it's incredibly basic.
It's just water, vegetables, some chicken or lentils, and salt. But what it represents is pure care. It represents someone dedicating their time to ensuring you are warm and fed.
And that care comes with a universal ritual, doesn't it?
Always.
The bowl is placed in front of the child, and the grandmother issues the eternal warning. Wait, don't eat yet, it's very hot.
And what does every single child across every culture on Earth do the exact second they are told the soup is too hot?
They immediately put a massive spoonful in their mouth.
Immediately. You burn your tongue entirely.
Without fail.
You do it for science. You just have to test the boundaries. But the beautiful thing about that memory is that you are testing boundaries within the absolute impenetrable safety of a grandmother's kitchen.
That's a great way to put it.
The burned tongue isn't a trauma. It's practically an ingredient in the recipe of that memory. It anchors the experience.
And this neurological shortcut, this direct line between sensory experience and emotional memory, is exactly why connecting language to these experiences is so utterly crucial for learners.
Wait, how does the amygdala help me learn English?
Because if you just try to memorize a vocabulary list from a textbook, you are exclusively using the logical, analytical part of your brain.
You're forcing it through the thalamus.
Exactly. You are forcing the information through the switchboard. It's hard work, it's exhausting, and the words usually just fall out of your head the next day.
Right, because there's no emotional anchor.
But if you attach a new English word to that deep-seated emotional memory, if you wire the vocabulary directly into the hippocampus, it sticks permanently.
I see. So if I just read the word savory on a flashcard, it's basically meaningless data.
Just letters on a page.
But if I connect the word savory to the feeling of collapsing onto the couch after a brutal 60-hour work week and opening a hot box pizza, my brain flags the word as emotionally significant.
Precisely. You're making the language matter to you on a personal, biological level.
That's brilliant.
And speaking of pizza, that brings up another fascinating dimension of comfort food. Not all comfort food is rooted in deep, generational childhood memory. Sometimes the comfort is purely functional.
Oh, absolutely. Pizza is the perfect example of modern functional comfort. It is, to borrow a perfect description from the materials, undemanding emotional support with cheese.
Undemanding is the exact right word.
It really is.
Think about the mechanics of ordering a pizza. It doesn't require any preparation from you. It doesn't ask you to chop onions or boil water. It doesn't even require fancy plates or cutlery.
You literally eat it straight out of the cardboard box.
You do. It doesn't ask you any difficult questions about your life choices. It just arrives at your door and instantly improves the situation.
Bad day at work, pizza helps you recover. Good day, pizza helps you celebrate.
It covers all bases.
Lazy evening where it's raining outside, pizza understands completely. And crucially, you don't have to dress up for pizza. You eat it in your oldest, ugliest, most comfortable clothes.
Which is half the comfort, honestly.
Right. Which actually brings me to a thought. I want to challenge this whole concept for a second.
Challenge away.
Are we actually craving the taste of the mac and cheese or the soup or the pizza? Because objectively, if we went to a high-end restaurant, the food would taste better, right?
Usually, yes.
I think comfort food is less about flavor and more about acting as an emotional time machine. Think about an old, oversized sweater you might have stuffed in the back of your closet.
Oh, we all have one.
Right. It's probably faded, the cuffs are frayed, there might be a mysterious stain on the sleeve from, like, 2018.
You can't wash it out, but you won't throw it away.
Never. If you wore it to a stylish dinner party, people would look at you with deep concern. Objectively, as a piece of fashion, it is terrible.
A disaster.
But when you get home after a horrible, freezing, exhausting day and you put that sweater on, it brings this unmatched, overwhelming sense of safety. It feels like a physical hug.
That's very true.
I think comfort food is exactly like that old sweater. We aren't craving a culinary masterpiece. We are craving the safety of the sweater.
I love that analogy. Because the sweater isn't keeping you warm because of the quality of the wool. It's keeping you warm because of the history woven into it. The food is the exact same.
Yes. But here is the tragedy of it all. If you experience that profound, time-traveling, sweater-like comfort from a meal, and your English vocabulary only allows you to look at your friend and say, the food was good, it's heartbreaking.
It falls so flat.
It's like trying to paint the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel with a single gray crayon. The basic words just fail us completely. We need better tools to describe the sweater.
We absolutely do. We need to upgrade the paint palette, which transitions us nicely into the vocabulary of taste and smell.
Let's do it.
We need to equip you, the listener, with words that are not just more complex, but infinitely more precise. These aren't fancy words just for the sake of sounding smart.
Right, we're not trying to be pretentious here.
Exactly. They are functional, surgical tools for sharing your sensory reality. Let's start with the first essential word, aroma.
Aroma. Just saying it out loud feels different. It has this, I don't know, a roundness to it. But wait, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is an aroma just a fancy way of saying a smell? Can I just use them interchangeably?
Not at all. And this is a nuance that immediately separates a native speaker from a learner. A smell is entirely neutral.
Neutral. How so?
It is just the biological detection of airborne molecules. A smell can be pleasant, it can be boring, it can be violently offensive. Wet dogs have a smell.
Oh, they definitely do.
Chemical factories have a smell.
Stagnant garbage on a hot summer day has a smell.
Or an odor.
Exactly. You would never, ever say the garbage has a strong aroma.
Right, that sounds ridiculous.
Aroma is exclusively reserved for pleasant, irresistible, often warm or complex scents. An aroma is a scent that draws you in. It implies anticipation.
Okay, so going back to our earlier example, the scent of the baking mac and cheese that pulls the teenagers out of their bedrooms, that is an aroma.
Correct. When you use the word aroma, you are signaling to the listener that the scent of the food was an event in itself.
You're setting the stage.
Right. You enjoyed the aroma before you even picked up a fork. It elevates the experience from mere consumption to sensory appreciation. Okay, that makes total sense. Now let's look at the next word in the toolkit, which I know trips up a massive amount of people because it doesn't have a clean one-to-one translation in a lot of languages.
It's a tricky one.
The word is savory. I'll admit, even I get slightly confused by the boundaries of this word sometimes. If I take a slice of watermelon and put a ton of salt on it, which some people do, is it suddenly savory?
It's a great question, and it really highlights why English categorization can be tricky. Savory is often easiest to define by what it is not.
Okay.
Savory is the absolute opposite of sweet. It is the category of food that is salty or spicy or rich in umami.
Umami.
Yeah, that deep, meaty, earthy flavor profile you get from mushrooms, soy sauce, roasted meats, or aged cheeses.
So it's really about substance and depth.
Yes. So your salted watermelon, it's still fundamentally sweet,
Mm,
just with a salty contrast. It doesn't cross over into being a savory dish.
that makes sense.
Pizza is savory. A rich bowl of ramen noodles is savory. A massive plate of nachos covered in jalapenos and cheese is highly savory.
Okay, I have it now. It's the food you crave when your body needs real heavy fuel. And human appetite is fascinating when you view it through this binary of sweet and savory. We operate like a pendulum.
We really do.
Have you ever noticed this? You can eat an absolutely massive, highly savory dinner, like a huge steak, roasted vegetables, potatoes. You are so full you can barely breathe.
You swear you will never eat again.
Exactly. And then, like 45 minutes later, the pendulum swings.
The craving hits.
Suddenly, you're opening the pantry looking for a piece of chocolate. You don't need calories. You just need something sweet to balance out the savory load you just took on.
Knowing the word savory allows you to categorize and communicate those physical cravings accurately.
Which is so useful.
Because if you're sitting with English-speaking friends and you say, I want non-sweet food, you sound clinical.
Yeah,
You sound like the robot diary.
definitely.
But if you say, I'm looking for something savory, you immediately sound fluent. You are inviting them into your sensory state.
All right, let's move to a word that describes the alchemy of cooking itself. The word is seasoned.
This is a critical distinction to make. Cooking something and seasoning something are two entirely different actions.
People definitely confuse those.
You can apply heat to a piece of chicken until it is safe to eat. That is cooking. Seasoning is the deliberate addition of salt, spices, acids, and herbs to elevate the natural flavor.
I think the absolute best canvas to explain the magic of seasoning is the humble potato.
The potato is nature's blank slate.
It really is. Imagine a plain, unpeeled potato that has just been boiled in unsalted water. It is fine. It will keep you alive.
It will.
But it is profoundly boring. It is the definition of mere sustenance. But a seasoned potato.
A completely different universe.
Right. You take that same potato, you cut it up, you toss it in olive oil, you add coarse sea salt, freshly cracked black pepper, maybe some smoked paprika, a little garlic powder, maybe a sprig of rosemary.
Now you're talking.
You roast it at a high temperature until the edges turn golden and crispy. Suddenly, that boring starch is a complex, crispy, salty, deeply satisfying culinary event. That transformation is the magic of being seasoned.
Seasoning is what gives food its specific cultural and personal identity. And that perfectly sets up the exact opposite word in our vocabulary toolkit, the tragic counterpoint to a seasoned dish.
Oh, I know where you're going.
The word is bland.
Oh, bland. It's such a sad, disappointing little word. Just the sound of it, bland. It feels flat.
It's the ultimate tragedy of the kitchen. A great way to conceptualize bland food is to think of it as food with no personality.
No personality. I love that definition.
You can be served a dish that looks absolutely spectacular. The plating is restaurant quality. The vegetables are vibrantly colored. The meat looks perfectly cooked. There's a delicate drizzle of sauce around the edge of the plate.
The anticipation is building.
Right, your eyes send a message to your brain saying, prepare yourself, this is going to be incredible. And then you take a bite.
And it tastes like you are chewing on a wet napkin.
Exactly. There is no salt. There is no spice. There is no acid to brighten it up. It is entirely missing that fundamental seasoned quality.
It's a broken promise. It's culinary betrayal. Your eyes hype you up, and your tongue is just left sitting there in the dark, confused.
That is bland food.
It is food that completely lacks the courage to be flavorful.
And this brings us to the final word in this specific toolkit, which elevates the conversation from individual dishes to entire culinary philosophies. The word is cuisine.
Now, I hear people use food and cuisine interchangeably all the time. Like, I like Italian food versus I like Italian cuisine. Is there a meaningful difference, or is cuisine just a way to sound slightly pretentious at a dinner party?
There is a massive, highly meaningful difference. When you say food, you are talking about the physical items you consume. When you say cuisine, you're encompassing an entire cultural history.
Okay, that's a big distinction.
Cuisine includes the traditional cooking methods, the specific regional ingredients, the ancestral recipes, and the philosophical approach a culture takes toward eating. It is a sign of deep respect.
So saying I enjoy Mexican cuisine implies you respect the history of the moles, the masa, the complex chiles, not just the fact that you like eating a taco.
Precisely. Let's contrast two incredibly famous, globally beloved styles to show how the concept of cuisine operates. Take Indian cuisine.
Oh, incredible cuisine.
It is characterized by this vast, almost intimidating complexity. You have incredibly intricate curries that layer dozens of spices. You have a chaotic, vibrant array of street foods. You have massive regional differences between the North and the South.
Right.
It is a cuisine of intense variety and bold, seasoned assertiveness.
And contrast that with Italian cuisine. While Italian cooking also has deep regional variations, its global reputation leans heavily on the reliable, deeply emotional comfort of a few pristine core elements.
Very true.
Phenomenal bread, aged cheese, perfectly ripe tomatoes, high-quality olive oil, and pasta.
Indian cuisine often showcases the complexity of the chef's technique in blending spices. Italian cuisine often showcases the pure quality of the raw ingredient itself.
Here is where this gets really interesting to me, specifically in how it relates to our mood. It's not just about knowing these words, aroma, savory, seasoned, bland, cuisine. It's about recognizing how our emotional state dictates which of these we reach for.
How so? Walk me through that.
Think about the times you are absolutely exhausted. You've had a terrible week, your boss was yelling at you, your car broke down. When you finally get home, what kind of food do you want?
Something easy.
Exactly. You do not want to be challenged by your dinner. You want easy, comforting, savory food. You want the Italian cuisine. You want the pizza. You want the sweater.
You want safety.
You want safety. You want food that accommodates your fragile emotional state. But think about a Saturday night when you just got a promotion.
A totally different vibe.
You feel energetic, adventurous, maybe a little overconfident. That is when you reach for the complex Indian cuisine. You want something heavily seasoned. You want spicy food that literally wakes up your nervous system.
You want an experience.
You want food that, frankly, teaches you a little humility. You want the kind of spice that makes you question your life choices halfway through the meal, but you keep eating anyway because it's so exhilarating. Our emotional state entirely dictates our sensory cravings.
If we connect this back to the bigger picture of why you are listening to this deep dive, why you are trying to improve your English, using these specific words does so much more than just accurately describe what is on your plate.
It does.
It proves to the native speaker that you are fluent in the human experience.
Right, because you weren't just translating dictionary definitions in your head.
Exactly. When you look at your friend and say, the aroma of these seasoned potatoes is incredible, you are doing something magical. You are triggering their olfactory memory.
They're painting a picture.
You are inviting them to step inside your sensory reality. You are turning a flat two-dimensional statement of fact into a shared three-dimensional human moment. You have successfully abandoned the robot diary.
You're practically writing poetry at that point. But as beautiful as that sounds, we have to acknowledge the dark side here.
There's always a dark side.
Knowing the right words is one thing. Applying them in high-stress, real-world scenarios is another challenge entirely, especially because in the kitchen and in life, things go wrong. Frequently.
They absolutely do. And when things go wrong, vocabulary isn't enough. You need tact. You need diplomacy.
Let's talk about kitchen disasters, because there is a hilarious canyon-sized gap between the fantasy of cooking and the harsh reality of actually standing in a kitchen trying to feed people.
Oh, we all fall victim to the fantasy.
Ew.
The social media aesthetic of cooking has brainwashed us. You decide you're going to host a dinner party. You imagine the scene. You have some calm, sophisticated jazz playing softly in the background.
Very cinematic.
The kitchen is immaculate. All your ingredients are pre-chopped and beautifully arranged in little glass bowls, like you're on a television cooking show. You are calmly sipping a glass of wine while elegantly stirring a simmering pot, laughing with your guests.
That is the delusion. The reality is pure, unadulterated chaos.
Absolute chaos.
The reality is that the jazz is off because you need to concentrate. The kitchen looks like a bomb went off. The pasta water is boiling over, creating a massive hiss of steam.
The smoke alarm is threatening to go off.
Yes. And you are desperately throwing open every single cupboard in the kitchen, frantically asking the universe, where's the salt? I literally just bought salt yesterday. It is a high-stress, adrenaline-fueled environment.
And the greatest danger in that high-stress environment isn't a dull knife or a hot pan. The greatest danger is overconfidence.
Oh, hubris. Overconfidence is the absolute enemy of the amateur chef.
There's a very specific trajectory to a kitchen disaster. You start with a recipe. You are humble. You are following the rules. 1 teaspoon of this, half a cup of that.
Right, playing it safe.
But then about halfway through the process, the aromas start hitting you. You start to feel like a master chef. You get arrogant.
It's a dangerous feeling.
You think to yourself, I don't need to measure this. I have an instinct for flavor. I am an artist. Yeah. And you abandon the recipe.
And it almost always ends in tears. Let me tell you about a highly specific, painfully relatable disaster that illustrates this perfectly.
I can't wait.
I was making a pasta dish. It's supposed to be a simple, classic savory dish. But halfway through, that overconfidence kicked in. I decided it needed to be spicy. It needed an edge.
Uh-oh.
So I grabbed the container of crushed red chili flakes. Now, if I was following a recipe, I would have measured out a polite half teaspoon. But because I was an artist, I just took the lid off and shook the container directly over the pot.
A fatal error.
The lid wasn't secure. The entire top came off. A mountain of chili flakes plummeted into the sauce.
Oh, no.
I tried to scoop it out, but it was too late. The sauce had instantly absorbed the heat.
The dish was ruined.
Completely. But here is the tragic part. I couldn't throw it away. I had spent an hour making this, and I was starving. So I served it to myself. I took one bite, and my vision actually blurred.
That is painfully spicy.
It was so aggressively, violently spicy that it felt like an assault. So what did I do? I desperately searched the fridge for a remedy. The only thing I had that could neutralize the heat was a massive tub of plain, unsweetened yogurt.
Oh, wow.
I spent the next 20 minutes eating incredibly spicy pasta mixed with cold, plain yogurt just to survive the meal. Pasta and yogurt. It is a culinary tragedy born purely of overconfidence.
It's a brilliant story because it perfectly mirrors the experience of learning a language.
Wait, really? How so?
Think about it. When you first start learning English, you are a humble cook. You stick strictly to the recipe. The recipe is your textbook. Hello, how are you? I'm fine, thank you, and you.
Right, it's safe, it's measured.
It's entirely predictable. It won't win any Michelin stars for conversation, but it won't burn the house down either. But then as you learn more words, you get a little more confident. You decide to improvise. You step away from the textbook recipe. You start throwing in complex idioms you heard in a movie once. Or you try to use a massive $10 vocabulary word that you don't fully understand the cultural nuance of.
You add too much chili to the sentence.
Exactly. You overseason your English. You use heavy street slang in a formal business meeting. Or you use overly academic Shakespearean vocabulary while talking to a barista at a coffee shop.
It completely throws the balance off.
Suddenly, you've created a conversational disaster. The native speaker is staring at you, completely confused, mentally reaching for the yogurt to cool down the awkwardness of the interaction. When you try to improvise without fully understanding the balance of the ingredients, communication gets messy.
I love that metaphor so much. Over-seasoning your English. Because it's true. Using these new words requires the exact same intuition and balance as seasoning a potato.
You have to know the context.
You need the precise amount of flavor to make it interesting, but not so much that it overwhelms the person you're talking to. You have to find the perfectly seasoned middle ground.
And just like in the kitchen, when you're evaluating someone else's cooking or someone else's opinions in English, diplomacy is absolutely required.
Let's go back to the nightmare scenario I opened the show with. You are at the dinner party. The friend's mother serves you the dish. It is profoundly, undeniably bland.
It tastes like warm water.
Yes, you cannot just look at this lovely woman who spent 4 hours cooking and say, this is bad or this has no taste.
Absolutely not. If you do that, you have not just insulted the food, you have insulted her home, her effort, and her care.
It's personal.
Very personal. In English-speaking cultures, direct negative criticism of food, especially homemade food served in someone's home, is considered a severe, almost unforgivable breach of etiquette. You have to navigate the truth without causing offense.
So what, you have to lie?
No, you don't lie. But you have to soften the truth. You have to massage it. And this necessity for diplomacy is exactly why native English speakers rely so heavily on indirect, softened phrasing. We don't just state facts, we cushion them.
Which transitions us perfectly into the final section of our deep dive today. This is where we give you the ultimate cheat code.
The Say It Better toolkit.
Yes. We are going to take the clunky, direct, dangerous textbook sentences and transform them into the natural, culturally calibrated, diplomatic English that native speakers actually use.
Let's do it.
Let's start with a very basic statement of desire. A textbook or a direct dictionary translation might teach you to say, I want to eat sweet.
The robot diary returns. I want to eat sweet.
It is grammatically understandable. People will know what you mean. But it sounds like a command from a machine that needs a battery replacement.
It lacks humanity. The natural native upgrade for this feeling is, I'm craving something sweet.
Craving. We talked about this word earlier, but let's dig into why it works so much better than want.
It changes the entire dynamic of the sentence. I want is a mental decision. It's a logical calculation. I am craving captures a physical, almost biological desire.
It's a feeling.
It connects perfectly back to that pendulum swing we discussed, the body shifting from savory to sweet. When you use the word craving, you're telling the listener that your body is actively, physically asking for this specific sensory experience. It transforms a simple fact into a shared human feeling.
It's the difference between saying, I require hydration and I'm dying of thirst. One is a status update, the other is a story.
Exactly.
Okay, let's look at the next one, which deals directly with the dinner party diplomacy. The textbook version is painfully blunt. This food has no taste.
Again, if you say that at a dinner party, the evening is over.
It's a declaration of war. It's so aggressive. So what is the natural diplomatic upgrade?
The masterful native phrase is, it's a little bland for me.
It's a little bland for me. Let's break down the psychology of this because it is a masterclass in Anglo-cultural nuance.
It really is. In linguistics, there is a concept called negative face. It's the desire not to be imposed upon or insulted. English speakers are hyper-aware of protecting the negative face of the person they're speaking to.
Okay, so how does this phrase do that?
First, you replace the absolute aggressive negative no taste with our vocabulary word bland. We established that bland means lacking personality. It's a critique, but it's a softer word.
Right, it's less hostile.
But the real magic, the absolute genius of the phrase, is in the modifiers. A little and for me.
A little. You are instantly softening the blow. You aren't saying the food is objectively disastrously terrible. You are minimizing the critique. You're saying it's just a little bland.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And more importantly, by adding the words for me at the end, you execute perfect conversational judo.
I love that. Conversational judo.
You take complete ownership of the flaw. You are protecting the cook's feelings by implying, listen, there's absolutely nothing wrong with your cooking. Your food is fine. My palate is the problem. My palate just prefers an excessive amount of seasoning.
It is a highly polite, incredibly effective deflection. You manage to deliver the negative feedback. You let them know you don't love the dish, but you cushion it so thoroughly in self-deprecation that it makes it impossible for them to take offense or start an argument. You survive the dinner party.
It is the absolute pinnacle of English indirectness, and it's essential for fluency.
Okay, let's flip it. What about a positive review? The textbook might have you say, I like this food too much.
This is a fascinating one and a very common error for language learners. In many cultures and languages, literal translations of the phrase too much are used to express immense overflowing enthusiasm.
Like it's overflowing with goodness.
Right. But in English, the phrase too much carries specific cultural baggage. It almost always implies a negative consequence or an excess that crosses a boundary into discomfort.
Right. I eat too much means I feel physically sick. That car costs too much money means I am too poor to buy it. He is talking too much means he is annoying me.
Precisely. So when you look at a chef and say, I like this food too much, to an English speaker's ear, it sounds slightly ominous. It sounds like a problem.
It sounds like the food is controlling you against your will and you need an intervention.
Exactly. So how do we express massive enthusiasm without the negative baggage? The natural upgrade is, I absolutely love this dish.
I absolutely love this dish. It is so pure.
Absolutely is a fantastic intensifier in English. It removes all ambiguity. And replacing like with love completely removes the transactional nature of the statement.
Right, like, feels so clinical.
When you say you like food, you are evaluating it. When you say you absolutely love a dish, you are expressing pure, unadulterated joy.
It's the conversational equivalent of handing the cook that warm, safe sweater we talked about earlier. You are making them feel great. Next on the list is a variation on praising the specific flavor. The textbook phrase is, "This food is very tasty."
Now, tasty isn't wrong. It's perfectly fine, but it's a bit elementary. It's a bit juvenile. The natural elevated phrasing is, this dish is full of flavor.
Full of flavor paints such a vivid picture. It implies a deep complexity. It implies that the cook didn't just throw some salt on it. They were generous and thoughtful with their seasoning.
It's a real compliment.
It connects perfectly back to the idea of that beautifully seasoned roasted potato we talked about. It isn't just one note of salt. It's a symphony of spices and herbs.
It acknowledges the time and effort that went into the cooking process, not just the final result. And our final upgrade deals with those broader categories we discussed. The textbook phrasing is, I like food of Italy.
It's so clunky. It feels like you're reading a Wikipedia page aloud.
The natural fluent upgrade is, I really enjoy Italian cuisine.
We swap out like for really enjoy, which feels warmer and more sophisticated. And we replace the literal food of Italy with the proper term we learned earlier, Italian cuisine. It instantly elevates you from someone who just consumes calories to someone who appreciates global culinary traditions.
It shows profound respect for the culture you are discussing.
So when we step back and look at all of these upgrades together, from I want sweet to I'm craving, from no taste to a little bland for me, from tasty to full of flavor, why do these relatively small tweaks, these little additions of words, make such a massive fundamental difference in how we are perceived by native speakers?
This is the billion-dollar question for language learners. And it reveals the deep cultural psychology encoded into the English language itself. What you are seeing with these phrases is the blueprint for how English speakers navigate social friction.
Friction is the perfect word.
As a culture, broadly speaking, English speakers are terrified of direct confrontation. We highly value indirectness when delivering anything that could be perceived as negative.
We will literally use a dozen extra words and twist ourselves into linguistic knots just to avoid telling someone their soup is bad.
We will, because in English-speaking cultures, direct negative statements are often perceived not as honesty, but as aggression. That's why a little bland for me is preferred. However, the exact inverse is true for positive emotions.
Oh, that's true.
When it comes to praise, English speakers utilize vivid, absolute, unconstrained language. We don't just like things. We absolutely love them. Our dishes aren't just tasty. They are full of flavor.
We soften the bad and we aggressively amplify the good.
Precisely. Mastering this specific cultural balance, the art of polite, self-deprecating indirectness for criticism, and vivid, absolute enthusiasm for praise, is the true, undeniable mark of a fluent speaker. It proves that you don't just know the dictionary definitions of the vocabulary words. You understand the underlying cultural rules of engagement.
You understand the subtle seasoning of the language itself, and that ultimately is the biggest takeaway from our entire discussion today. When you take these natural, culturally calibrated phrases and you combine them with the deep biological, emotional memories we talked about at the beginning, the comfort of the mac and cheese, the profound safety of the grandmother's soup, the homing beacon of the aroma, you have the ultimate recipe for brilliant conversation.
It all comes together.
You are no longer just a robot exchanging data. You are a human being sharing your world.
You are communicating with genuine flavor.
Which brings us to the end of this incredibly rich deep dive. Let's take a quick moment to look back at the journey we've been on. We started by permanently throwing away the robot diary.
Good riddance.
We uncovered the fascinating evolutionary biology and psychological roots of comfort food, how the aroma of baked cheese or the steam of homemade soup bypasses our logical brain, hits the amygdala, and acts as a time machine, triggering powerful feelings of safety, home, and that old oversized sweater.
Then we built a sophisticated vocabulary palette to accurately paint those sensory experiences. We learned to differentiate between a generic, boring smell and an irresistible, welcoming aroma.
Such an important distinction.
We explored the deep, heavy satisfaction of savory foods, the magical, transformative alchemy of a properly seasoned potato, the heartbreaking tragedy of bland food with no personality, and the deep cultural respect inherent in the word cuisine.
We also shared the agonizing, universal realities of kitchen disasters. We laughed at the profound dangers of culinary overconfidence that leads to eating chili yogurt pasta, and we examined the supreme, sweaty palm awkwardness of navigating a dinner party when the food is terrible.
And finally, we learned how to season our everyday sentences to survive those dinner parties and sound effortlessly natural. We upgraded from clunky robotic textbooks to culturally nuanced diplomacy, learning to say, I'm craving something sweet, cushioning our critiques with, "It's a little bland for me," and expressing pure, unadulterated joy with, "I absolutely love this dish."
You now have the tools. You have the neurological understanding, the precision vocabulary, and the cultural phrasing to turn a boring status update about your dinner into a colorful, engaging, shared human experience. But before we let you go, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought.
Something to chew on, if you will.
Exactly. I want you, the listener, to think about your ultimate childhood comfort food. The one specific dish that instantly teleports you back to a moment of absolute safety and love in your native country or your childhood home.
Take a second and really visualize it.
Now, try to describe its complex aroma, its layered taste, and the deep emotional memory it holds using your newly upgraded English toolkit.
It's a fantastic mental exercise.
But as you do it, I want you to ask yourself a hard question. Do the English words fully capture the magic of that memory? Or is there a secret cultural seasoning, a specific word, a concept, a feeling in your native language that English simply does not have an equivalent for?
That's a powerful question.
And if there is a gap between what you feel in your soul and what English can express, how might you bridge that gap the next time you share a meal with an English speaker? Because maybe true fluency isn't just about finding the perfect English translation.
And no, it's about connection.
Maybe it's about inviting them to your table, serving them the dish from your childhood, and letting the food speak the emotional language that English words simply cannot. We started this deep dive talking about the rigid clinical world of the robot diary, where everything is a single binary of good or bad. But as we've seen today, the real magic of language, just like the real magic of food, lives in the complex, beautifully seasoned, and entirely human, messy middle.